Hello and welcome. I love to pair books and all things literary with seasons. And so as it's the Christmas season, I thought it would be fun to bring in a little bit of lifestyle suggestions to you all today with a literary bent or book lover viewpoint. So with the idea of SIPS, thrifts, and stories, I thought that I would bring a little bit of Christmas literary flair into our lives. So I am going to be setting up a hot chocolate station, all the while sharing with you some of my favorite books and book recommendations that have a hot chocolate, hot cocoa scene in them, so that we can pair just a simple process for setting up a hot chocolate station while also getting book recommendations and kind of making that literary connection. For the thrifts part, I was inspired so greatly by Susan Branch. She had this beautiful Christmas book, and in it she shares a whole bunch of different ideas. But what I took away from that was the idea of gift thrifting. So finding in a thrift store something that's in wonderful condition, that has been pre-loved, but that would be a perfect gift for someone. And so I thought that it would be fun to kind of share Susan Branch's ideas, but with a literary viewpoint or book lover viewpoint in mind. And then for the stories part of this video, I had three main criteria that I used while trying to find a curated list to recommend to you. So the first thing is obviously they're Christmas movies. Secondly, I did want them to be based on short stories or novels, so that again, we still are keeping with that literary theme. And then the third criterion that I really tried to maintain was to find a movie that is free for everyone to watch. So I know sometimes in the past people have mentioned, well, you can get the DVDs at the library if you don't want to have to pay, but I do want to remain cognizant of access, and not everyone has access to libraries and DVDs that way. And again, for streaming, I'm not sure internationally how these stream, but I do know that on a lot of these platforms that I've found these free movies, you should and hopefully be able to have access to them without having to go anywhere or do anything special. You should just be able to click the links. So get yourself something warm to drink, maybe get some fairy lights or twinkle lights out, and let's start with the hot cocoa station. So for the books that inspired the hot chocolate station, I have mostly middle grades, and the first one is The Green Glass House by Kate Milford. If you have not read this book, I would highly recommend it. It is also a great audiobook. We have Milo. He is living in like this smuggler's inn, and it's really neat. Like, to get to it, you have to go across like this gondola. It is set in a snowy New England region. I think it's Vermont, but because of this smuggler's inn setting, they're inside a lot. All the characters, you're by a fire, you're in this like creaky old house, and Milo is often drinking hot chocolate by the fire. So this was like the core inspiration for it. Fantastic book. And then similarly, we have Winter House by Ben Guterson. Such a fun cover. In this we have Elizabeth Summers. She's an orphan. Her aunt and uncle are really terrible people. She gets an invitation that's like left on the table. The uncle and aunt are gone, inviting her to this mountain inn, you know, where you have like all kinds of like outdoor like skiing and things like that. But there are puzzles. This book is so fun. So first of all, there's a lot of really great illustrations throughout. This is also a really fantastic audiobook, and it can get a little creepy, actually, as you continue along. I'm trying to find a puzzle page here. And I know there's a confectionery kitchen making candies on site. I think they also drink hot chocolate, but this is another fantastic, like, hot chocolate setting inspired middle grade book as well, specifically at Christmas. I also would be remiss if I didn't mention Ballet Shoes by Noel Streatfeild. This is the story of three girls Pauline, Petrova, and Posey fossil. They were found, collected by great uncle Matthew Gum. He's off gallivanting in the world, and the girls are at home. They end up kind of being in dire financial straits, and they also start renting out rooms in the house that they're in, which brings in just a very fun cast of characters. But the girls end up getting sent to a children's academy to learn dance and stage theater techniques. And when they come back home from the academy, their Nana makes them all kinds of, biscuits and things like that. But there are also two females who are boarders who become, it's like they're homeschooled by all of these different people in this house. And they are doing some of the intellectual, like mathematics and science, I think. And they make them these special little drinks. Like one time it's mentioned with chocolate and cream and a hot drink, ginger drink. So I think this is also a good one for hot chocolate type inspiration. Then another one I wanted to mention is Snowbound with Betsy by Carolyn Haywood. This, I don't think it specifically mentions hot chocolate, but it literally mentions every other drink and cookie combination. It talks about the mother like cutting up, getting the beef ready and cutting carrots, and just very hearty meals, as well as just how food is very much a part of this family's life. This is set at Christmas, and there's a huge blizzard and the electricity goes out, and there's some like peril. They're worried about people are supposed to be coming for Christmas, but lots of nice hot food references in this as far as like family life. So this is another fantastic option. I also wanted to be sure that I mentioned the American Girl Dolls series. Kit, I think, has some hot drinks and treats in her like 1930s setting. Kristen does the St. Lucia meal that the sisters make for the father and brother on the Feast of St. Lucia, which I believe is December 13th. Molly, I think in there's a discussion about cocoa rations and using the last of the cocoa as a family. So a lot of these books, again, circle around food as, something that families do. So I think they are also great options as well. And then the last one I wanted to mention is A Holiday by Gaslight. And this is by Mimi Matthews. I don't think there's a specific mention of hot cocoa in here, but there is a lot of mention of tea. It is set at Christmas time in December in Derbyshire, partially also in London. This is a very wholesome romance. It is a novella. I, again, don't think it specifically mentions hot chocolate, but it does mention like treats and confectionery foods that they have, and again, teas. So this also, I think, does a great job bringing in how food can encompass a holiday and like how it's an important aspect of holiday traditions. For the hot cocoa station, I took that thrifting idea that I am applying to some of the gifts for people in our lives and thought that I wanted to be able to find some options of having our hot cocoa powder and accoutrements all just kind of out. It brings to me coziness to a new level. So I went to our local thrift stores, and we are blessed to have quite a few in our area. Something else too about our thrift stores is they have certain days where they discount things. And so if you time it right, you really can get things for a good price. So I was looking for a tray. I was looking for containers for things, little containers like for marshmallows and for sprinkles, and have a container like I mentioned for the chocolate powder, and just kind of trying to find things that fit in that winter Christmas hot cocoa theme, and was able to find things with great success. So I set up the tray, and then I figured out how everything would fit. So I had this house container that I had gotten years ago to put the cocoa in. I didn't want to just dump the cocoa in because it is a lot of powder. So keeping it contained, I thought would be helpful. So I just have the bag right in there. We actually put candy canes straight up in our hot cocoa. So I get the dye-free candy canes from Whole Foods or Wegmans. put them in a container so that anyone can decide that they're going to put a candy cane in there. Found a glass container to be able to put the marshmallows in. We had these huge campfire marshmallows that I think would just cover the top of the cocoa mug, but I put those in the bottom to just kind of take up some space. And then we love the Trader Joe's maple flavored marshmallows, the mini marshmallows. I love them better than the peppermint ones. I made sure to put those then in there. We have this little wooden spoon that you can kind of scoop out the marshmallows into your hot cocoa. And then we get these dye-free sprinkles from Trader Joe's. Again, I didn't want to just dump them out, so I keep them contained in the bag, but we can put the sprinkles on if we want to. We've got whipped cream in the fridge, so you can put some sprinkles right on that as well. And then I also like cinnamon flavored, so I put some cinnamon sticks out here so that we could maybe, if you don't want the peppermint stick, you could do a cinnamon stick instead. And I love this. My kids are so excited. They want to invite their friends over just to be able to play and then make their own hot cocoa fixin station. So it's really just become a center of conversation and just a fun thing for our family. Something that I feel increasingly passionate about is thrifting more. I think that not only is it fun to do the scavenger hunt or the treasure hunting, but I also think it is being a good steward of living on this planet. So, with that idea in mind, I decided to work on creating thrifted gift baskets for my neighbors. I used Susan Branch's Christmas from the Heart of the Home to kind of help set me down a path of creating some ideas. And something that I realized as I started to build these gift baskets is that they actually, what I'm putting in them would be perfect for book lovers as well. So I'm going to share my process and then hopefully kind of help you get on a path of maybe considering ways in which you can incorporate nice, good quality thrifted gifting as well. So in the Susan Branch book, I tabbed a couple of the places where she had gift ideas, hostess ideas. I think this give cookies section is the best. So she's got all these different ideas of baskets and wrapping things and kind of how to incorporate having a theme. And then I also really loved this page as well, just again, giving some ideas on themes that you could do. She also has ideas in the book on, getting finding salt spoons and turning them into pins, just really creative ideas. So this was kind of the place that I started, was to look through this and come up with ideas so that I could have a general idea of what I was looking for, because you want to, when you're going thrifting, you definitely want to have a plan and know kind of who you're shopping for. Keep that in the forefront of your mind because it can be very overwhelming. Some thrift stores or antique shops are just very cluttered, and you can almost be like, oh, there's so much here and this, and get distracted. And so having a list and a plan, I think, is a great place to start. So, first of all, you can always find baskets at thrift stores. Baskets are just everywhere in all of the thrift stores that I have been into. All right. So, for instance, this basket actually has apples tied onto it. And I just found this mid-century modern pick and just fed it through the weave in the basket to make it have a Christmas vibe to it. It is my goal that all of the gifts are functional. And so this is a working basket that does not have any holes or anything that, rips in the weave or anything. It is a nice quality basket. I can usually find these anywhere from $3 to maybe $5 for these smaller baskets. So, and then whoever gets this can just take the pick out. If they don't want it, they can take the apples off. It's, whatever they want, but they at least have a functional basket. And then the next thing that I wanted to do, and this was an idea that I got in the Susan Branch book, and that was to gift a candle holder. So I found these candle holders. They're made in Germany. Each one has a different, let me show you, here's one here. This one's got one in it. So there's all of these different little bird candles in each person's basket. And again, I wanted to keep it functional. And then to go along with this candle holder, you can find really nice used candles that have not ever been lit. Next, I gathered a whole bunch of these jars. So I have a jar here. There's one of these jars that has like a airtight lid on it. I've got a jar over there. So each of these baskets will have a jar, and then within the jar, my plan is to put something edible. So this is something that I got that is obviously not thrifted. I found it at Home Goods. So I will just put those in there. So I want to make sure that I get something that is functional for someone to be able to use later, but are getting something that they can enjoy too. There's some years I make things at home, so that's something you certainly could do. And then our thrift store actually had a whole bunch of these puzzles that looked like they were new because they have they're sealed, that were on sale for $5. So each basket has a puzzle. And again, I think book lovers would love to have a basket, some treats, a candle, and a puzzle. So the majority of this has been thrifted. And then something else I want to share is that to put the tags on it, I found this beautiful ribbon at the thrift store, the lace on it. And so I will wrap it around here and just put a little handmade cardstock note tag to let them know how much we appreciate them. But ribbon is another thing that you can find a lot of at thrift stores for really great prices. So this ribbon was only $2. And there is a ton of it. It will last me a long time. So I wanted to mention that. And then lastly, I also wanted to mention that if you really don't have it in you to like find baskets and kind of scour, because I did find a lot of these containers and the baskets at different places. So I didn't find them all in one place. So you do have to kind of visit frequently and different stores to be able to make all of the collections. You can find just a nice piece that you may want to just gift something small. So for instance, like there's this candle holder. You light the end of this wax to kind of make it a little bit melty, or you can put double-sided stick tape in there to make it fit better. But you could easily put this together, put a ribbon on it, put it in a nice bag, and that is sufficient as well for just a small gift for someone. You could include a gift card with it, whatever your heart desires. But it doesn't have to be this, putting together a whole basket. It can just be something small. You could pair this with a book that you love, for instance. I would love to hear ways that you have used thrift gifting in your life, and maybe even share some ideas of things that I can add to in my book lovers basket that I have put together for. Before I start with the movies, I do want to say I have done a video like this before where I did mostly vintage movies, I think, and recommendations, and even vintage TV shows. So I'll be sure to link that below. But if you have any suggestions, especially if they're like free and easily accessible, of kind of these like older style movies, for the stories, I have 3 movies to recommend. So again, they're Christmas movies. You should be able to access them for free in the links below, hopefully. And they're also based on short stories or novels. So we'll start with the most modern one, which is got that true 90s feel, and that is Holiday Affair. And it's based on a short story by John D. Weaver, but I have not read the short story. I don't even know if you can find the short story. There is one that came out in 1949. I think it has Robert Mitchum in it. But the one that I prefer is the one that is from 1996. So in this story, we have a single mother. She is a widow, and she has a little boy. And she is just working so hard to be able to take care of him and keep them in, warm in house and home. And she is dating a lawyer. He wants to marry her, but she does seem a little bit reticent. And one fateful day, she goes into a department store and she meets a man who they just seem to have chemistry and hit it off. and fate just continually brings them together. I mean, it's very much a 90s feel. A toy train plays a very big part in this. I do love the cinematography of how we enter into the story and then at the end of the movie how we exit out of it. So I think it would be just a sweet, if you're baking cookies, or even, decorating, doing something else, and you just want to have that playing, I think it's just a sweet choice. This is this heartwarming story of two people who recognize their connection, and it's just, again, with the little boy, it's just very sweet story. And then obviously you could look for the original 1949 if you really would prefer that very vintage black and white feel. So the next movie that I have to recommend is I think, book called Silent Stars Go By, and that is by Bess Aldrich Streeter. Bess Aldrich Streeter wrote A Lantern in Her Hand, I think is what it's called, which we've read in our family as part of a literature curriculum. It's not the most cheerful story, and I do think that this movie that I'm going to recommend does have a little bit more of like a bittersweet feel to it, and that is A Gift of Love. It's from 1983. It has Angela Lansbury in it, which I love anything I think that Angela Lansbury's in, except for Mrs. Polifex. But that's not her fault. Anyway, this is a story of a family fraught with problems. There's marriage challenges, there's financial challenges. This does, just to give you a trigger warning, this does deal with parental loss. This is a story of a woman who, in the process of grieving, she goes through like a breakdown. Again, I know this isn't sounding super sweet, but it ends up being that. And she sort of has like a fever dream where she ends up being around people in her past that have passed away, and going back home to Vermont for Christmas. So you've got the snow and all of that. And so that I really loved, was that setting of Vermont. And it just feels very nostalgic. It definitely can make your throat well up thinking about like a time when, you have this experience where you just want to go back in time and experience kind of what you had when you were young, when maybe you didn't realize all that you had. So that is A Gift of Love. And again, it is very settled in 1983. I mean, with what people wear and how their hair is, it's very much 1980s, but again, heartwarming and just very sweet. And I would say you could also have this on when you're baking cookies. There are a lot of, like, even within the dream, which you kind of realize is like not reality, there are flashbacks within that. And so you do sort of have to be paying a little bit more attention to like what's going on. Otherwise you might get lost and be like, wait, what? She's getting married? I thought she already was married, but she's like going back and revisiting her wedding experience, for instance, so that we're all kind of brought up to where she is. And then the third movie that I have to suggest is Thanks to the Cozy Reader Book Club. I think Michael is the one who mentioned this, but there is a movie from 1966 with Haley Mills and Rosalind Russell, and that is The Trouble with Angels. So this is not a Christmas movie per se. So this actually is set in a all-girls Catholic boarding school, basically, and so it's run by nuns. And so you have Haley Mills, on a train coming to school in, like September, and she's there for the full year. But there are some beautiful Christmas scenes and like a, stark November first snow scene that is very poignant and memorable. And it really is a sweet movie. I think it really portrays the Catholic experience quite well, in that you have, these young girls who come into this school. It's run by nuns. You really see the life that the nuns have chosen. And then you see people who are very flawed. and still make a choice at the end to give their life over to God in service to him. And so it's just a very sweet, you know, Catholic movie that has some beautiful Christmas scenes in it. And it is also based on a book called Life with Mother Superior by, I think it's Jane Hay. So it just was like these funny little vignettes that someone created into this movie. And again, having Haley Mills in it and Rosalind Russell just makes it very funny, in addition to having that whole, you know, veil of religion around it. So I hope that you enjoyed this and that you got some ideas, again, of movies to just have playing in the background, or maybe you want to, you know, sit down with popcorn and your hot cocoa and just relax and watch it. I also hope that you are inspired to maybe visit some thrift stores and see if there are any treasures in really great condition that you think of someone and you're like, oh, I think that they would like that. And again, you can always pair it with new things as well, if you know, if it fits in your theme of basket or whatever you're getting for them. And then I would love if you set up a hot cocoa station. Let me know, and feel free, you can send me pictures through DMs on Instagram. Let me know what it looks like. I'd love to see kind of what everyone has set up for just being able to go have hot cocoa. The world is a hard enough place as it is. Might as well, you know, make it be this soft, gentle place in our homes where we can just go and have a hot cocoa when the mood strikes. And don't forget to comment below about your movie recommendations. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time.